Hey, good evening. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'll welcome everybody to this town board workshop for tonight, Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. I'll call the workshop meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilman Rossman to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Rossman. I'll ask our clerk to call the roll.
Councilman Lanu, Councilman Weismandel, Councilman Rossman, Deputy Supervisor Charles, and Supervisor Speck.
Here, very good. We have a quorum. We don't have council with us. I think we're waiting on a few other, here's Mr. Margaretin, one of the people expected. And we have representatives of our police command that were here. So the purpose of this workshop is to discuss taxi safety and taxi enforcement due to concerns that have been expressed to and by the town board at past meetings. So at this time, let me recognize Mona Montal, who is the chair of the Town of Round Post Taxi and Limousine Commission.
Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. I'm pleased to announce that the new enforcement tools that we put in front of the non-police department, those new little ticket machines that we've done, we've already issued about 20 tickets for.
Those new what machine?
We have a new system, a ticketing machine, a ticketing system. It's a tablet. It's actually prints the ticket.
It does.
There are certain violations of the law that we worked with the police department on and our justice court on, and our code enforcement officers or anybody else that's been trained can issue these new tickets, which are for non-compliance with rules and regulations that are civil, that are not criminal, that anybody could issue these tickets for. And we worked with a company, it's almost a year now, right? Probably more than that. And we finally got them underway about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And now the litter patrol, the code enforcement team, Mr. Margaretin.
That goes under the police department?
No, it goes under the Office of Emergency Preparedness and the Taxi Commission. The police, it only goes through the justice court. That the tickets go into the justice court and they would be adjudicated through the justice court. And Miss Mealy is here and she can explain exactly, right, she's the attorney for the Taxi Commission. And the whole idea of using these machines was to be able to increase the amount of enforcement we were allowed to do. Not only to issue fines, because that was the main issue. It was to get compliance with the laws. We know that there's an issue. We know that now we have an even bigger issue because we were told by the federal government that everybody has to have a social security number, and a good majority of the ones that previously applied for taxi licenses did not have a social security number. But we don't want to completely destroy the taxi industry because that's the way 90% of our community gets around. We are pushing very hard for a transportation system with buses and jitneys, but we're not there yet. We've been waiting for the county to take over this whole thing with the Taxi Commission. We were only supposed to do this temporarily. We're not supposed to be the enforcing agency out here. The county wants to do it, and we're hoping that before January, they will take over this entire process. We do find flaws. We see them put the screens into the cars, and somebody has caught them going around the corner, taking the screen out and giving it to somebody else. We've notified the police when we find that happens. They almost feel it's a cost of doing business. This enforcement, they come and they pay the fines. Like some people come within hours to pay the fines because they don't want to be in court, because they don't want to be subject to the potential ICE situations that can occur. I can tell you people are petrified of that. And that's another reason why they don't want to get licensed. We have two companies that have completely ignored us. companies that have gone, am I correct? One for sure, but I think it's even the second one. And we've been trying to figure out what we can do.
When you say ignored, you mean they're not registering their cans at
Correct.
all?
No, correct. Right? That's.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go
Yeah,
on because
I-
I had a few things to add to the agenda. too.
Yeah, sure.
Are you saying? Yeah, okay, so I started 2 meetings ago. You weren't here at that meeting.
Right.
I know I speak, and now the entire board was on board. I guess no pun intended, in regards to what the situation is. Nobody wants to put people out of business. There's nobody who's more business friendly than I am. I hate when government gets involved in business. But right now, I think we can all agree that things have gotten very dangerous
Very.
out there, extremely dangerous. Maybe it's at a volume, but there's maybe one specific, I don't even know if we're talking about the same company, a specific company that I see seems to have the majority of issues. And I think ignoring the situation is, we're just waiting for a life to be taken.
Well, let me follow up with that. This is maybe a question for Amy. Can we amend our law to have some liability on the part of the cab company besides just the driver? Maybe if there's repeated violations, repeated non-registered
As the
vehicles.
as the company.
As the
We talked
company,
about.
not just the
We-
guy
we-
that gets stopped, but the
We
owner.
brought a couple at our last official meeting, and then I was out because I was sick. At the last official meeting that we had, we talked about what can we do before you brought it up. I mean, I'm thrilled you brought it up, and I'm very happy to be standing here and having a conversation. We would like 90% of them out of business. We want to create a transportation system in this town that will be safe for the people that use it. Right now, the streets are too crowded, we believe. And I think one of the questions we had is, can we limit the number of licenses that we give out?
I think we can, but the problem is
Then what?
coming out of the bottle also.
Right,
How do we, if somebody has a license now and they're law abiding, how do we stop them from renewing?
I don't think there are that many that are renewing. That's the problem.
Okay,
Yeah,
what was that?
I have all the numbers.
yeah.
All right,
We
what
have-
are
High, they're going down every year.
Yeah.
they?
This
They're
currently-
receding the numbers, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last year we were at.
How many have actually been ticketed and removed off the road? And what are the repeat offenders? Like, are we addressing any of that?
We don't remove them off the road. I don't think by law, even repeat offenders, we are not allowed to do that.
Can we
They-
create a law for that?
I don't-
We can,
There is
after a
something in the law.
certain,
Yeah.
after a certain amount of time, if you have repeat offenders, you could have a hearing, give them some due process, and you could theoretically revoke their license. But that's that's getting at the problem like a long
but
time
I-
after it.
I think at this point, it seems, and I've been hearing this now from multiple people, multiple sources, it sounds like we're having people with suspended licenses that on more than one occasion have been pulled over.
Mhm.
Like with the suspended license, we pulled them over twice. I think there's something like extremely aggressive maybe that
What?
we need to do.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anybody who's driving through our town right now who's not
I'll
seeing
get it done.
how aggressive some of these drivers have gotten. And I understand it. They're paid by the pickup, and they're doing everything they can to get to that next fare as
Right.
quickly as possible. And they're really taking all methods into their own hands in how that's being done. I could tell you that I think it was 2 weeks ago on the way to this meeting, I almost T-boned one who just jumped through a whole intersection.
Mhm.
There are certain logical things, and like the supervisor was saying, I think the first place I would stop is going to the people who are dispatching. That is a great way for them to be a part of the filtering process of who's on the road and who's not on the road.
Right.
If they have no responsibility, then it's a lot harder for us to chase the little person as opposed to going up at the corporate level, for lack of a better word.
Right. So we are looking into whether or not we can amend the law, and I think we can, to give a ticket to both the driver and the operator. That brings up the question though as to what's an operator. Some say, well, they're not really operators because they're just a software that basically, dispatches people here and there. And as time has gone on, and I've been working on it with the taxi commission, we realize now that that's not really true. We're also enforcing the insurance requirements that were in the law. For some reason, they were coming in with lower insurance requirements, and now the new people that are coming in to renew or to get a license we're imposing stricter insurance requirements, and then we find that they take the application and they don't come back. Because that increases the cost of their doing business by about like $1,200 a year, Jeff, is that about right?
Yeah.
So, even to just get the increased insurance to protect the people in the car and the town, quite frankly, is becoming a hardship. For a while, in court, we were giving, a little bit of a leeway in the very beginning. If they could show me that they had an appointment to go get their car inspected, I could say, all right, let's adjourn it 30 days and then come back. And if you show me that you're inspected, we can dismiss it. Then there was a lower fine that we were imposing, and now we're imposing the full fine. And again, so like the more we start enforcing, ramping things up and enforcing, the less they keep coming in.
Which is why we use this new system, because the minute we see that it's a taxi cab that doesn't have our updated sticker, they're called into court.
Right now, we require an operator, in other words, the company that puts their name on the cabs to get a license.
Well,
That's my question.
yeah, so if like, let's say you work for Bob's Taxi Company
Yeah.
and you get a paycheck from Bob's Taxi Company,
Yeah.
or you split a fare with Bob's Taxi Company and they dispatch you, and you're all one family of Bob's Taxi Company. In that situation, Bob's Taxi Company has to have a license and insurance, and the drivers have to be listed on their application, and the drivers all have to have it. In that case, it becomes relatively easy to say, oh, okay, this person's associated with Bob's Taxi Company, and we can give you both a ticket. But where some people are saying, like,
Software company.
yeah, like,
Well,
where,
but Arrive is not just a software company. They're licensing out their name and they're dispatching to the.
No, we're not talking only about that.
We're not just about
Yeah.
Arrive. I don't mean to pick on one. I'm
Yeah.
saying any of them.
There's a
I'm
difference.
trying to say that somebody can't use the excuse, oh, we don't actually operate the taxi company. We just charge the cabbies a fee to
Right.
get called by us to dispatch.
I agree with that, and
I even believe they must have paid for the cars.
Of course.
yeah,
Because they're all
They're all the same
almost
car.
all the same cars.
yes,
So why
exactly.
can't we amend the law to basically say, anybody who is in the business of putting their name, coming up with a trade name that they sell to taxi drivers, and a system of dispatch is a cab operator and is subject to.
Yeah,
No, for them, we should have a much higher level of insurance.
And
Right,
and
right.
fine.
And fine, yeah, and I think we can do that, because I think that you can say, look, just having that Arrive sticker on your car is a form of compensation. You are, by
Somebody's
virtue of
calling
somebody,
Arrive.
yes, exactly.
calling
They've
it.
got to be
Exactly.
paying for that software, but that software also gets you the
Yeah,
cachet of putting
It's
this
like a franchise.
sign on. It's
Yeah,
like
but
a
then one of the
franchise.
bigger problems is these
It's like
days,
Uber.
you're calling one company and they're sending another company. That is what the latest problem.
because
with
if they don't have a
community
cab
is.
available, they'll send the next.
Right, so they're
So
not getting.
if they're accepting a phone call,
Yeah.
no matter however they're dispatching it,
Yeah,
Yes.
I would agree.
We
then,
see-
then we
I would
need
agree.
to, it has to be done like immediately. Put it this way, if they're not policing themselves, and unfortunately
Yeah.
they're having us do it,
We have.
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
you know what, they're gonna have to, I had a similar business, not in this industry and others. Unfortunately, the government went too far and they weren't policing the right people.
Mhm.
And their attitude is we either do it across the board or not, it's a shame. They destroyed a whole industry for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking to do that, but the bottom line is right now, things are out of control. On a daily
Well,
basis, there are accidents and it's
We
just
should
very
be aware
dangerous.
that, like, that upping the enforcement to that level just might do that, but maybe it needs to be done. I don't know. But the other problem that we're having is that I have drivers coming to court and saying, oh, well, my taxi is also my family vehicle. And, and I was taking my wife to the doctor. And, or I was just sitting in a parking lot, like, just,
We
On the
used to
what-
have that problem, under the seatbelt law, you have to, have car safety seats for young children. There was an exception for, taxis, because obviously the taxi driver is not liable if a parent comes in with a child and there's no car seat. But we had cases when I used to do the justice court years ago, where people would come in and say, oh, it's a cab, and they were my children, and, they weren't my children, I was driving them. But it turns out they were the children, and it was the same loophole.
yeah.
So how do we deal with that?
I hit them for no child restraints.
Good,
But if they come in and
That's not
show up for
required on
the,
streets?
No, I think it's a defense that it's a cab, because a cab can't really have a child seat and,
Uh-huh, okay.
yeah.
Or,
I'm
you
pretty
know,
sure
if
our
they
use
don't,
of
but
it
I
is-
mean, any kind of restraints whatsoever, you know, usually these things are, it's either all or nothing. It's either everybody's wearing a seatbelt or nobody is. You know, so a lot of them are saying, look, you know, it's also, you have like the arrived people who I think switch around a lot of the cars. You have other people who I think are like, you know, maybe it is kind of a family car and they do share it. And sometimes they do operate it as a taxi. But like what I was saying the other day was maybe we provide that, like you can put a little cover on the taxi thing, or it can have a light. Just
Yeah.
like in the city, if you're not on duty, you know, you're allowed to be driving home in an area that you're not licensed if you're not on duty. So I think there's a way to address that as well.
Usually don't drive home with someone in fact.
Not in the back. No. Yeah. But
One of the issues that comes up, and it's, I think the police can address it, it's an enforcement issue, but it's the law. People will see a cab operating without the sticker, not operating, driving in the town. Just driving a cab without registration to us is not by itself a violation of the law. You have to be doing business, picking people up in the town, if I'm correct. So the officers see somebody driving, and they can't just pull them over because they're driving a vehicle. They have to have reason to believe they picked up a passenger.
We even pounded one car,
Yeah.
no joke, 40 times. That gentleman, at least, and he comes back, pays whatever the fine is and picks up the car.
What about the stickers, right? The old stickers, if you see them, can they remove them?
No. They've been, we've come up with a way that with the stickers, it's really nearly impossible for them to cheat on that. But really, the bottom line is we've got to get rid of the majority of them. The only way to do that is to open this transportation system.
Right.
We have a meeting with the county, in 2 weeks to have a in-depth conversation about it. The county has money
Right.
and the county has buses for
If
us.
everybody recall, years ago, the county was supposed to start regulating taxis.
Correct.
And in 2017 or 18, they were supposed to start, and they never did. And we finally did it years later because it wasn't being done by the county.
Correct. And we've met with the county. Our team has met with the county, Yossi, myself, Josh, and I think one of the police officers came at one point. Here's the package, take it. But they still have some questions as to who's going to be running it, whether the sheriffs are going to be able to do it, how many people they're going to need to hire, you know, this code enforcement concept. So, I think
we figured it out.
I know. But we were accepting,
It is
we were
hard.
accepting, non social security numbers. The first
Yeah,
year.
that's the first I'm hearing about that. I didn't even know that.
It's against the law and the county refused to do that. So as courtesy to us, right?
Uh-huh.
They didn't want to immediately take over and automatically throw 600 taxis off our roads, because how are people going to get around? So when we talked about doing that, the two major villages came in and said, please don't do that until we have these bus systems going. Now, Kaiser has a very effective bus system going. They're doing volumes. They really need our help because they can't even handle it themselves. New Square just got some small jitney service that they're starting. It's simply not enough. Every village here has requested bus service. Every village that has become more of a walking community has asked for bus service. Chestnut Ridge, Montebello, Airmont, several of them, but nobody can accommodate it. Really, it's supposed to be the county's responsibility. They're not going to do it the way we need it. So they've agreed in theory to work with us to create a bus system for the town. Ramco Ready Transit. We talked about that at one point.
Mhm.
And the federal government is willing to give us some money towards that and buses. And the state is willing to help with some buses and software. But the county has to be the one to agree to it. I think Doug Schutz is amenable to it. And what we're anticipating is 2 bus lines going up and down 306 and College Road. And all they do is do that all day long, up and down 306 and College Road. And then smaller buses to go on the interior roads with routes that are set up by figuring out where the need is. And there's a consultant that we'd like to use who who's done it before, Benjamin Mermelstein. He gave us a proposal to do it. And he was the first one to successfully be able to set up their own transit system for Kaiser. And he is willing to work with us to do ours. And he's currently the clerk in the village of Kaiser.
Let me this time open up to our police representatives, see if they have any input, suggestions about what we could do better.
I would actually like to hear, I appreciate you brought, I'd like to actually hear the statistics that you guys are finding out there as far as ticketing, accidents, things that would be helpful for us to know about what's going on a daily basis with it.
Speak about statistics. I will say that you were spot on, Mr. Supervisor, with respect to, violations, infractions in our presence and how we handle it. We don't necessarily issue a ticket traffic summons. What we do is any violations that we observe are local law violations. And we are issuing a desk appearance ticket. That is different from what a UTT traffic.
Why aren't we giving tickets?
It's an arrest. For us, it's
More
an arrest.
serious.
It's a local law
It's more
violation,
serious.
it's an arrest for us. It's not a uniform traffic ticket for a vehicle traffic stop.
Maybe I'm not understanding the difference. When somebody got a speeding ticket, like, is that where? So if they were speeding, what are you giving?
So this local law, this taxi law is not part of the New York State Vehicle Traffic, which is what we would enforce via a uniform traffic ticket. This local law would be enforced by us as an arrestable violation offense, which we would issue a desk appearance. That's it.
So
It's not a traffic.
somebody's doing something that, what would be an instance that you would be pulling somebody over? Like, are you just doing it if you see somebody picking them up without a sticker? Or did they do some kind of traffic infraction?
Yes, that would require us to actually visibly have that happen in our presence.
If you saw a cab run a red light, you'd give them a ticket for running a red light.
Yes, yeah, that's traffic.
Yeah, traffic, UTT.
So there are other things that happen, with normal day-to-day operation of a motor vehicle that we would enforce traffic infractions. A parked taxi cab, when we pick up a fare, we would have to witness, visibly see somebody enter that or attempt to enter that.
So when they're in a fire zone in front of, I see this all the time, in front of Evergreen, where you have them all lined up, right? What is that while they're in a fire zone? What would you be doing at that point?
That would be a violation of parking in fire zone. We standing, stopping the fires.
That would be a parking ticket.
Our actual enforcement of the law itself, we're down on, we set up details. We'll go down to say Evergreen, and we'll have somebody standing off to the side, but or the sergeant with binoculars watching for a cab to pick up fare. Now, we now see them picking up within the town of Ramapo, and they can see that there's no stickers on the cab. So they'll radio down to one of our traffic officers, let's stop that cab, and issue a desk appearance to make an arrest for that offense of the local law. That's how we've been going about the taxi cab.
How many of those have you done last month, I guess? That was even,
Well, at the beginning of the year, we were we were on hold, but I don't know what the reason was.
We were changing the law.
We were changing the law, so we're on hold. So we didn't do our first one until probably April. Year to date, we've had 19 less in this calendar year. I don't know what numbers you have done for last year.
And we just issued another 19 or 20 with this new system, which took us less than a month. So I hope and anticipate the numbers will grow.
And code enforcement also.
That's what I'm saying, from
Yeah.
the code enforcement side.
I'd like to understand maybe offline. I don't
Yeah.
understand this whole code enforcement. It's
Well-
like odd to me.
What do you mean? What part?
Meaning, why isn't it part of the police department? Why are we,
Well, I think we have basically two different agencies that do it. The police are doing it if they observe, and code enforcement does it as
why
well.
wouldn't code enforcement be under the police?
No, it's not.
No, it's a separate department. It's
Why
been
is it?
separated years
It's
ago.
always been separated,
it's
because
been-
I don't think they can be under the police, if I recall correctly.
Code enforcement can be.
Years, because there's
No, but
somebody had down have a
can they
problem.
not be under the police department?
It's apples and oranges kind of. It's like they don't have the same
Right, they're
authority.
not
They
police
wouldn't be able to
officers, they're not police
stop
And who
officers.
who gave those people those authorization to be able to do this?
We hired them. They've been working for us mostly
years.
for years.
Same
They've been
people
doing
who would give you a
Parking enforcement,
property
litter
maintenance
enforcement,
violation.
No,
property
no, no,
maintenance,
but not, that's only recent. The
Yeah.
code enforcement officers used to only do
Parking,
parking, fire,
litter,
handicap.
recycling.
And we approved that, the board?
Years
No,
ago.
it's years ago.
Years ago.
No, the individuals who
No,
are,
they're hired years ago.
Yeah, most of
You
them have been
wouldn't
here a
have
long
any,
time.
you wouldn't have any, well, I don't think there's one.
so there's
thing.
nobody giving out, like, there's nobody giving out a ticket that we haven't approved, meaning that's, I guess, in the last 10 years. I don't remember ever
No.
approving somebody.
No.
So
So there's nobody new?
No, nobody was new.
Okay, so back to, you said, so you haven't been doing anything since April. It's been on hold.
We've done no details. This calendar, we didn't start until April. That was the first.
Okay.
The law was being changed in the beginning of the year, so we were told to put it on hold. Instead of detail.
So, and what has it, how's it look since April? How has it looked since April?
I was also asked whether or not we could put a presumption in the law that if you're sort of sitting in front of a line of people who are looking for taxis with a taxi sign on the top of your car, that there could be some sort of rebuttable presumption that you are operating as a taxi. That's something to consider, but at this point, the police officers are left having to actually observe it, which is, you know, I mean, it's kind of a time consuming.
What would you
And
guys
Uber-
suggest?
Uber is not covered on this.
But what would you suggest, seeing what you're seeing, I guess maybe since April, you know, if that's enough time? Have you seen anything that you would recommend if we're already changing the laws of things that should be?
Exactly, just that. There's some sort of presumption that says if you're a marked cab, if it says whatever, Joe Smith's taxi cab, and you're sitting in an area that is often used for discharge or pickup of passengers, say in the fire zone in front of Evergreen, then we would have that be presumptive evidence for us, presumptive evidence that we can now say, all right, you're acting as a cab because you're sitting waiting to pick up. And they may say, well, we're just waiting for my daughter. Okay, well, have your daughter come out and show us if she's your
Right.
daughter. Other than that, we could then issue that.
Yeah, that was
Make that arrest for violating the local, say, they don't have proper stickers.
Careful how you-
They're acting as a cab. They'd have to prove this, they weren't acting as a cab. We could do it, you know, if they want to bring someone to court, say, I was picking up my daughter, here's my daughter, she'll testify in the court.
Prove it.
That I was waiting for, that's fine. But if, you know, if you're driving a cab and it says Joe's cab on it, you're sitting in front of everybody, or you would wait to pick up a fare, then you're acting as a cab. Right now, we don't have that. So right now, we have to see them get a passenger, pull light. That's the only way we can make that arrest.
So I think we have at least two things, maybe the attorneys could look at revising that issue as to a rebuttable presumption that somebody waiting to pick up passengers, that looks like they're waiting to pick up passengers,
Yep,
is operating as a cab. And the other would be,
The owner.
having liability on the part of the cab company besides.
And software-based,
Right,
meaning
exactly.
that whole,
Anybody who's putting their name on a cab and.
or dispatching in some
Yeah.
capacity.
Maybe
This
the
is-
council would like to come to that meeting about the transportation,
Sure.
if you'd like
Do we
to
have a
join
schedule?
us. Not yet,
Okay.
but you might let.
We'll notify.
If he
when
wants
we
to
do it.
join.
Yeah.
And the next time the county has a taxi meeting, if you'd like to go to that, we'll make sure that that happens too. We've asked for them to please take it over already. But I don't anticipate before January.
So at this time, does anybody here have any further questions or suggestions or?
Yeah, how long would this take? I really think this is a real serious issue. How
well,
long do you think it would take to get something for us to review?
I could have something for you guys to review next week.
But then it's a
And,
low, it's a 30-day.
And then
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
and
yeah, I
then, you know,
understand, that's why-
we would have to
Do it
set
and
a
put it
public
on the
hearing at a
agenda.
public
Right,
meeting.
right.
And that would have to be
Well, we have
noticed,
a
so
meeting
it's, you know,
in-
45-day process probably.
The 24th. So if you have something by the 24th that we could look at and set the hearing day, that would be fine.
But that would be too long. Why don't we set a public hearing date in anticipation? Can we do that?
Yeah, it just has to be the copy of the local law has to be on your desk.
I would have said it.
10
tonight.
days
I would say set it
before.
2 weeks.
No, I thought you have to set it a week, but you have to have it, I think, but you're the lawyer. Don't, if you
Right.
set a public hearing for the 24th.
No, I'm not saying set a public hearing for the 24th. 24th, put on the agenda, the setting of the public hearing for the new amendments. to the
I was
law.
just saying what Mr. Wanuno, Councilman Wanuno was saying, if we wanted to do it faster.
No, yeah, if we could just, whatever it is, it should be done properly. I just, you know.
Yeah, because when you set a public hearing for a local law, you usually say that the local copy of the local law is on file in the town
That's
clerk's
fine.
office. And
you
so
know-
I would have to actually have it prepared. I mean, you know, it could be a
Couldn't we
couple of
set it
days
up later?
later.
Right, okay,
And you
fine.
could you could change it at the meeting or you can change it up to the meeting, but then you might have to continue the public hearing if the changes are substantial.
Once we're talking about kind of transportation, I think it's especially now in the summer, I don't know if this is now the time or place to have the dialogue, and I'm sure the police would have some input on this. There's been a lot, I've been getting, literally, if I tell you, once a week, without exaggeration, I guess concerns about all these electric
So,
bikes.
Yeah.
My son has one, so
so we got.
I don't know what the proper thing to do is, but some of the pictures that are coming out there are so, they're
Dangerous.
vehicles.
Yeah, the New York State law says you have to be 16 to operate it. It's not enforced or followed here. So
Is there a speed?
Orange County and Rockland and us, we're gonna come out with a heavy campaign. Many of the rabbis are involved with us, many of the public schools are involved. We gotta get the kids off the streets. It's not only an electric scooter, it's an electric bike, and it's, what is those other things? The hovercrafts and the Uniwheels. So that,
Yeah, yeah.
all of them, I believe you can stop them, correct? If you have an electric scooter, bike, or hoverboard, and they're under 16, obviously under 16 years of age, are you allowed to stop them? And if they're not wearing a helmet, no matter what age, I believe we're allowed to stop them.
So that's, they legally have to have a helmet?
Yes,
Yeah. I mean, forget about intelligently.
I-
Legally, they need.
I believe they do. Do you not? I mean, yeah, I believe you have to have a
It
helmet.
was like under 12 or something.
Yeah, you have to have a helmet.
There is a rabbi, I think it's a Rockaway.
Rabbi Bender, he came out with it. Yes.
And he banned them from being into school.
Right.
And they're parking in houses.
So
He went there and confiscated.
Visionits told us today, we met with Visionits today, and they're on board with us. We've met with New Square, they're on board with us. The biggest because nobody's watching the store. The kids
Well,
just,
the
we-
parents
we-
have to stop buying these things for the kids. That's what the
but
responsibility.
what's happening is I think the kids are
was.
buying them in many instances on their own.
No, the
And
parents have to know what
parents
the
have to
kids are
take
doing.
action, but
Yes.
I think if we start stopping them and making them be brought home to their parents, I tell you, one parent saw his kid cross 59 by accident. He saw his kid crossing 59 completely irresponsibly, and he went after, he took it away, and he's not giving it back to the kid.
Who took it away?
The father, I was very impressed that he did it. But most parents don't. So we're gonna work with Hirsch Horowitz on education for parents as well, because it really has to, Supervisor and I we're in our car, going to a meeting, we were on Route 306 and Maple Avenue, and to our chagrin, Visionits let out. We could not believe the hundreds of young men who went diagonally
Children, boys.
across the street
Right.
with no light. They had no light, right? They didn't have a light. And we immediately called Visionits, and the Rebbe said it had to stop. Now, we haven't seen it happen again, but we agree with you 1,000%.
I'm not even stating an opinion, it's when I see
Yeah.
these dangers, if this is
So we're
like,
gonna spend,
this morning I had a guy, it must be like the police bicycles, they had a motor on the bicycle. Should have seen this guy zipping in and around.
Yossi,
there
could
trying
you,
to-
would you mind
Yeah.
standing up and giving, please, I want to share your story. So I want to share this, I would like you to share the story, what happened Sunday. Because I think it's so important.
On Sunday, we had this kid safety day. We gave out helmets, over 4,000 helmets. That night, there was an accident with a kid, with a pedestrian. I'm not sure if he was with a scooter or not. I'm not, obviously, probably either with a bike or a scooter because he was wearing a helmet. And he got hit by the car and
He flew into the windshield.
into the
and he was
windshield
saved
and
by that helmet that was given out. And thank you to the town board because you helped sponsor every
Right.
year that event.
Which was an amazingly successful event. Thousands and thousands of children went, received bike helmets, registered their bikes, received reflectors, received the town-sponsored safety coloring and activity books. So it was a great event.
Been there if I would have known.
You what?
I would have been there if I would have known about it.
That makes two of us.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that that happens from now on. They didn't know about
They
it.
didn't know.
I forgot it.
Everybody got an email.
It might even-
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Helmets are basically required for everything.
Harry, did their email go to spam from Yossi? Okay, well, they're claiming they didn't get it.
It's,
Okay, so I think at this time, we could adjourn the workshop. We had the instructions for council, what you can do, the 2 items of registration. And we'll follow up at a future board meeting. And if has anybody other suggestions or concerns, we could reconvene this.
Very
And,
good.
Councilman Wanunu will let him know when those.
When the meeting
Meetings
with the
are.
county is on the
Correct.
transportation.
If you're interested.
yeah, please.
Absolutely. Very good. So at this time, do we need a resolution to, we don't need a vote to
No,
adjourn the
no,
workshop?
nothing,
No.
no.
So we have our regular meeting at 7. It's about 6:35, so.
Maybe we could meet with Councilman Weismandel now,
we
if
could do
he's up to that.
We could reconvene at 7.
Yes, Councilman Weismandel, are you good to meet with us?
Are we offline?
We'll go to